The Earth. Part 3. Religious and moral conditions in various non-Christian peoples, as of 1847. '74. Jews, Mohammedans, and Brahmins in spiritual perspective. 28th April, 1847. Original content summary. The critics are people who live from scolding. The hay, for the oxen and the donkey. The spiritual earth is guided by Christian spirits only. The present Jews. Strong comparison with the undermixing of mankind with Jews from the spiritual point of view. Their role in the spiritual realm, but misused. The great means they have available, but their abuse thereof. The Mohammedans, a variation of Jews and Aryan Christians. Their main virtue is trade and war. Their imagination of the hereafter, and their role there. The Brahmins, mysterious miracles, where black magic plays a role. The caste system, and tragic state of lower culture there. About critics. We shall, however, not consider all the inhabited regions of the earth properly, since this would require too much time and space. But we shall only sketch a general view of the so-called conditions, considering the various main inhabitants of the earth, which brings about the spiritual union between them and heaven. Since we have, so far, only paid attention to the Christians, and left the other inhabitants of the earth untouched, it would, in the course of time, appear to some reader, in this regard, in respect of the totality of the earth, to make a few biting remarks, which will not be lacking anyway. The so-called critics of profession must indeed criticize everything and sniff out and insult. For these are the people who live from scolding. And since the world is always reading and much more attentive to insults than praises, this evil quality of the world is a particularly powerful leverage for critics to complain about. Only the works and actions of people who do something are easy prey for the critics, who criticize them, to be labelled by all sorts of very sensitive means. For this, then, spew these insult-hungry worldly wise even more bile unto everything they do not fear to be beaten by. So it is necessary to give them as much as possible of a donkey muzzle, and sometimes through such a message some hay, so that these poor animals have something to eat. It would not be necessary to ask further in this message about the earth. Any explanation about what the other inhabitants, since the principal thing indeed always remain, the Christians, and the spiritual earth is governed and directed only by Christian spirits, and never by pagan. But this is only a few portion of hay for the critics, so that they can get something to eat. In the tropics, however, it is well known that the grasses are much stronger than in the temperate zones, where the Christian flag is already blowing. Therefore, we may also be assured that we shall find an abundance of all hay in the tropics, And so let us turn to the other inhabitants of the earth with this intention. In addition to the many Christian sects, the Jews live scattered all over the world. They resemble the bacon slices with which the cooks lard the lean venison. In this way, all kinds of people, who are mostly very lean game, are also larded with the Jews all over the world. Jews then mostly resemble pigs, which people everywhere let grow some fat, so that when they are lean, they can again be underpinned by the gold and silver fat of the Jews. A Jew, as he is now constituted, is completely a pig. Already the outer appearance certifies for everyone to which class of animal this human race belongs. A Jew currently generally looks like a pig, and stinks like a pig, and rolls everywhere in the most despicable world mud like a pig, in order to quench his thirst for gold and silver. He is spiritually taken, happy with any kind of food. He is a Christian for the Christian, a Turk for the Turk, a pagan for the pagan, a Chinese for the Chinese, and a fetish servant together with the fetish, only in order to be able to procure all their gold, silver, and precious stones. A pig can also enjoy any food. Even the barest dirt is not unwelcome to him, as long as it is warm. This is also the case with the Jew. Wherever he finds any warmth or inclination for his interest, he eats it. For these are just the people who are available for everything for money. And among them, there are very few exceptions. The best, as you say, are not worth a shot of gunpowder in spiritual terms. They are still waiting for a Messiah who would like to lead them back to their old promised land and make of them a great and powerful people. But this Messiah will never come, and they will remain what they are until the end of time. Therefore, they play an exceedingly low role in the spirit realm, which is easy to understand. They are there what they are here, namely hagglers, with the only difference that here they walk among the people in human form. But on the other side, they mostly appear in the form of pigs, which they hate most of all. Admittedly, not obvious to everyone, not even among themselves, but only seen from the pure light of truth. Since there is not much more to be done with the Jews, and everyone knows that they are to be found all over the world among all nations, and that they conduct the same business everywhere, we will say nothing more about them. It is true that in them the great spiritual qualities are still predominantly present, but these qualities are used for vain evil. Therefore, they remain what they are, and in the spirit world there is no leaner heaven than the Jewish one, for they also bargain there, and the shine of gold is more to them than the most intense light of truth. The Mohammedans. trade and war as the main characteristics of the Mohammedans. First, after the Jews, come the Mohammedans, who inhabit a small part of Europe, a fifth of Asia, and an eighth of Africa. These Mohammedans are a variant of the Jews and the Aryan Christians, but their main virtue is trade and war. What they cannot get by trade, they buy with weapons in their hands. Their time will soon be over. The highest reward of their commercial and martial efforts they put into sensual pleasures. Therefore, their Elysium, as they imagine it, bristles with the most beautiful young girls and women, with whom they hope to do their lewd business for eternity, without becoming weary and tired in their sensual feelings. Some of them imagine their Elysium in such a way that the ground is paved with the whitest and most beautiful women's breasts, on whom they can wander around so comfortably. And the women and the girls grow in increasingly sweeter in form as the fungi from the earth, and they can make use of it as often as they wish, and exclaim in full delight, "How wonderful and great is our Allah!" Thus they imagine the trees in their Elysian gardens as beautiful female bodies, just as the Greeks and Romans had imagined a certain goddess Daphne after transforming Apollo into a laurel tree. These tree wives are full of genitals and are available to be used. This is approximately the idea of heaven of most of the Mohammedans, and of course have to be understood the most distinguished favourite foods and beverages. It is self-evident that with them very bad aspects awaits them in the spiritual world. So it would be a waste of paper and ink to give more attention to it. It is self-evident, however, that they are not to be condemned because they are this way, and in the spiritual world it will be taken care of in the spirit world to guide them unto the right path. Only as long as they remain Mohammedans, there is no provision for them in the spirit realm. What should they do? What they believed cannot be allowed. Therefore, they are over there like wanderers, not knowing where to turn to. The Brahmins, Brahmanas, the caste system, magic of the Brahmins, their beyond. In addition to the Mohammedans, there are the Brahmins, who live in a terrible state of affairs in Central Asia and also in part of South Asia. These people are all pure mysterious miracle men. With them there is nothing but miracle upon miracle. They themselves work nothing but miracles, and their main study is to pick off the miraculous powers of the good as well as the evil deity, and to work all kinds of miracles themselves. Everyone can readily understand that there is already much satanic machination in the game, for with them the caste system is still at home. The common man is condemned to remain eternally dumb so that he cannot see through the make-believe miracles of the spiritual caste. Woe to the one who dares to ask a Brahma servant how he has done a miracle. For the first offence of this kind, the pretentious is rejected only with an immense beating. But a second time will already cost your life, or at least the eyes and the tongue. It is scarcely necessary to mention the fact that the inhabitants of this extremely dirty land will have a terrible fate in the spiritual realm, even worse than the Mohammedans. Spirits of these people of Brahma must be wholly moved into the polar ends of the earth, where the greatest desolation prevails. Only after many years would they become receptive to Christ. But this is all that can be said of them. Therefore, on to another party.